Good afternoon everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Districts. And my name is Susanna and I live with trains. And today you find me here at Goswell Sidings, and the reason for finding me here at Goswell Sidings is that there's been a number of changes and a lot of work in this area as I try and improve this area. Now, this part of the layout has always been my favourite part, but I have actually tweaked it to improve it. And there are two reasons for that. And the first reason is actually what you can't see. Before, there was 3 links to this layout. There was the bit that goes from Goswell to the lounge. Then there was a bit that went from Goswell to my bedroom door. And then there was another bit that went around the corner that linked it all together to what was in my bedroom. Now, the link that went across the front door was always very problematic. So one of the things, well, there's 2 things I really wanted to address from these changes. One is to make the link more easier, user-friendly to use. And 2, to get more operational purposes from Goswell Sidings. So what I'm about to show you, I think you'll see, is that I've definitely improved on both. So that's basically the crux of today's video, is to see the improvements. Now, it's not finished by any stretch of the imagination. This is only like part 1. And in this part, I'll just basically show you what I've done, the track plan and the changes. And then there'll be a part 2, which I will probably, I don't know whether there'll be any further changes in terms of whether or not, because the track plan is set in stone now, but I haven't actually done any of the ballasting or anything like that. So whether or not there'll be any ballasting on the next part, I'm not sure, because I'm still at the testing stage. But if I haven't done that, the second part will just be a demo of how it actually now works. So that'll be the next video, more than likely. Now, before we start, I'm going to add some footage and some photographs of what it was like before. This is just so you can get your bearings as to what was here before along this section. And then that will give you some context into why I've changed it and how it's improved. So that's pretty much where we're going to go from there. So I'm going to let you watch that, and then you can come back to me after that, and then we'll go through the changes. So I think we'll start from this end, which is the closest to the lounge. So the lounge and the main container terminals off to the left, and off to the right is Arklow Quarry and the Fiddle Yard and St Anne's. So one of the first things you'll notice is we used to have this block here come all the way across to here, and it was all steeped embankment before. So we've done away with that. And basically what we've done is, these are the 2 main running lines, in and out, so in and out on these 2. And basically what I've done is I've now added a point, because what I wanted to do is, just like the wagon works at the front, I wanted to make this area self-contained. So you can play with this area without it affecting the main line. So if I wanted to have a train running around the layout, whilst I'm playing here at Goswell, I can do that without it affecting the main line. As Charlie from Chadwick would say, a scenic train just running around in the background whilst I'm actually playing with this main area. Now the 20 you can see at the back, this is the one that's had the most testing on this area, because this locomotive, I absolutely love this locomotive. I love the sound of it, and it's also the main shunting layout, shunting locomotive. In fact, it is the shunting locomotive for Goswell Sidings. So what happens is the train would come in with the wagons on this point here, and instead of going off round onto the main line, it would come off onto here. This will now become the arrival track, arrival and departure track. The train will be then out the way, so leaving these two main lines here free, and then it would go all the way down to the end. Now from this angle, you can sort of pretty much see that this near side line I haven't actually touched, but everything's sort of been moved down slightly to accommodate and try and squeeze in another line. So as you can see now, there's a retaining wall, a stone retaining wall, which there wasn't before. So basically I've cut this all back, but kept the essence of Goswell Sidings and kept the trees, but just trimmed it back, added the retaining wall to squeeze in another siding. So we now have two sidings and an arrival and departure track. So that's another difference down at here. Now as we spin it around, and I'm going to drop you down actually. It's not quite as smooth as I'd hoped. Right. Now, before the train, this used to be a head shunt here, just a stabling point. That's no longer more. And we've also got a point here, so we're now utilising the little narrow portal there, and that 20 will come from there or into there. Now, I've said this before, this is based on Earl Sidings, and basically Earl Sidings basically has these sidings like this, and then it has a track that goes off to the cement works and drags off the wagons, and this is like my version of it. So basically this is like a branch that comes into the sidings, and that's all it does. It doesn't go onto the main line, it just goes onto the sidings to drop the wagons in and bring them out. So that's what that does. So that means, where does it go? Well, as you can see, it goes to that board over there. Now, one of the big problems I was having with the other board was that I had to keep lifting it out and plugging it in to the end here. And as light as I tried to make it, it was quite cumbersome and it was still quite heavy. So I've decided that I wanted to make my life easier by having a drop-down board, and it's hinged. So all I've got to do is literally just drop it down. And the dark blue that you can see there are the legs for it. So what I'm going to do is drop it down, and then you can have a look at it in its drop down position. So you can now see it's now been dropped down into its drop down position. It's now in its current level position. It's totally 100% leveled. It's hinged. It just goes up, secured up to the wall, and then it drops down as and when I need it. I've added the fascia, as you can see. I've painted the legs up, and I've just sort of done that, so that's all kind of nicely painted and it's all kind of logoed up. Wanted to do something different with the legs. I thought that'd be quite cool. I've ordered the fabric, so there's going to be a bit of fabric that goes around there, and that will cover the bottom half of the door. And let me take you in for a closer look. So as you can see from this position, how it works. You have the main line going back to the layout, to the main layout at the front on here. We've got the outbound on this side. We have on the third line is the arrival departure track for the sidings, which has now been extended to here. So before we just used to have just these two lines going over the overbridge, and that was it. So now we've added the arrival and departure track for these sidings here, which will allow me to get a full length of 12 wagons in there right up to the very end. You're going to need all the track here. Thankfully it all fits, and then it can be backed in, and then to come out you'd use this crossover here to then come back onto the main line. And this represents the branch line that goes along here, which you don't see. Now, at the moment, you sort of think to yourself, well, you can still see that branch line that it goes, so it looks a bit pointless. But you see that there's these little holes that go along the board there. And that is for a temporary backscene, which I have created. And basically that separates the main lines and the siding from the branch. So for all intents and purposes, from there, you will no longer be able to see that line on the outer side. And then you can use that line to drag in the wagons. And then I would have liked to have done a run round, but to be honest with you, it just wasn't going to work because there wasn't enough space, and it's the same at the other end. So I've had to compromise with the track plan, but it does all work. And you have to think about what wagons you're shunting around and in which sidings you have to put them in, because otherwise it won't fit. So there is a specific order. So it is quite good from that point of view that you do have to use a bit of mental agility to try and work out which wagons are going to go there, how many you can fit, how many you can bring in and bring out. So you're going to have to think about that. So that's the good thing, because I found this out for myself yesterday when I was testing this, and I worked out that actually, oh, that's not going to work. But it might work if I do it this way or that way. So it is good from that point of view. So from this angle, you can now see I've put in the back scene. And as you can see, it's a temporary back scene, and you can see it's now hidden. The branch is now hidden from the main line. So all it is that it's wooden dowels. Let me see if you can just sort of see one of them around the back here. You can see that there's a wooden dowel, and those wooden dowel corresponds with those holes. And basically you just plug the dowels in, and then therefore plug the back scene in. And then when the board goes up, you basically take the back scene off and you just lift it off. It's not screwed, it's not glued, it just plugs into the holes that's already been pre-drilled into the board. And the more time that the hardboard stays in this kind of position, it will keep this position, so it makes it easier. And then so I've actually done this before, but I am going to try it again, because I don't mind the blue, but I might put some other ID back scenes on it. But obviously you've got to be a bit careful, because obviously if it springs out, it will stretch the paper and then it'll probably split it. So, but this does work for now. It is all a bit tight, I'll be honest, but it does work. And that has been tested, and I have very much enjoyed playing with it in this configuration. I'm just going to move the camera around so you can see it from a different angle. So as you can see from this angle, you can't see the branch line at all whatsoever. So I'm just going to put it here, and I'll give you a quick little demo just so you can see. So I'm just going to bring some wagons in, and you just see how they come in from here, but they disappear. You don't see them, and that's kind of the idea behind it. And you can just sort of see it just disappears, and you can't see it running around and coming through. So that's the whole idea, that the 20 will shunt it back out, take the empties in, bring out some full ones, or vice versa. And then basically then the 66 can then pick these loaded wagons up and take them on to where they need to go. So from this angle, you can see a bit clearly what I was trying to achieve. So basically you've got the back scene right through there, and the train will come, say, from a totally different direction, through the back there, through the branch, and you don't see it through this bit. So it kind of looks like it's gone completely somewhere else. That all adds to the whole playability of it all, and gives me more opportunities to have fun with this layout. Well, have fun with this section, and it's also self-contained, which makes it really, really cool. I really like it because I have actually been playing with it whilst I've been testing it, and it really does work. The track plan, like I said, isn't quite as I wanted it, because I would have liked the run round at the end by the bedroom, but I would have also liked it at this end. But I've had to make some compromises, but it all still works, and it is still all fun, and it does do what I need it to do. And with the new track added, the actual arrival and departure track that you can now see, it means that I don't clog up the main line. So this one here and that one there are both the two main lines, but I can bring a train in from here, and I can break down the train or leave the train or whatever, and it's out the way, and I can still run trains on the main line. So that's pretty much what I wanted to achieve. So this is the new and improved Goswell Sidings. So let's just give you one last pan round. I mean, these are going to be the main wagons I'm going to be using, the MJA wagons. I'll also be using the HIA wagons, and I've been testing those as well. And they're slightly different because I think they're actually slightly shorter than these. So the problem is this track here, where the arrival is, because it's quite short. There isn't much space between here and the point over at the far end for the clearance for the main line. So you have to work out to make sure you get the train out of the way and how much you can fit in there without it conflicting with the main line. So that's what the main issue is with that. But that's fine, because it all adds to the enjoyment and the playability of the layout, because you have to actually think about these things. So there you go, and that's the new section there. And again, that just drops down when it's needed, and when it isn't needed, I can just put it up there. And if I just sort of zoom you out a bit, what I'll do is I'll just lift off the back scene just so you can see how easy it is. And there you go, it's off. And as you can sort of see, it's already starting to have a curve in it, and it's starting to keep its shape. And like I say, you've got the dowels in it on the back, and all you're doing is simply plugging in these dowels into the holes, and then that keeps it in its position. So this concludes the end of today's video. I hope you like what I'm doing, and I'll keep you updated as and when. Hopefully, like I said, in part 2, I might actually give you a demo and maybe a bit of a progress report on whether or not there's any ballasting and things like that done. It's just have to just do some more testing to make sure I'm happy with it before I actually commit to doing that. But so far, so good. So I'm really pleased with that. So until the next time, my name's Susanna, and I live with trains. So bye for now. Bye-bye.